Although it is not considered a sacred text in the major religious traditions, the Book of Enoch is undoubtedly a fascinating work. Dating back to around 300 BC, it is primarily viewed as an ancient Jewish writing, but still finds room in some contemporary streams of Christianity and Judaism. Enoch, to whom the book is dedicated, is mentioned in Genesis and is presented as an ancestor of Noah. One of the central figures of the Book of Enoch are the Watchers, celestial beings described as both sons of God and sons of heaven. In the 7th chapter, many interpret that the Watchers, also called Grigori in Enoch 2, were angels tasked with watching over humanity and acting as earthly guides for the first human beings. Although they were only to monitor human progress, they were expressly forbidden from intervening in human affairs, regardless of how tempted they were to do so. In chapter 7, the book reports that the human population grew and the daughters of men were beautiful and attractive. Their beauty was such that it captured the attention of the Watchers, these sons of God. At this point in the narrative, the Watchers deliberate among themselves and resolve to take the women for themselves, generating offspring with them, thus contravening their original mission of merely observing and interfering directly in the destinies of humanity. The leader of these angels, named Semyaza, also known as Samyaza, warns the Watchers that they should reconsider their decision, as he would be the one to bear the consequences of this sin against God. However, the other angels persuaded him and stated that together they would face the punishment, each assuming responsibility for the consequences. It is documented that there were 200 in total, and collectively they descended to earth to take the women as their wives. The Book of Enoch even lists the leaders of the Watchers, each of whom would instruct the mortal women in magical arts, enchantments, and the cutting of roots and trees. It is suggested that the Watchers revealed heavenly secrets and knowledge about life that God did not intend humans to know. Thus, by acting in this way, the Watchers not only betrayed God by uniting with his creations, but also corrupted them with knowledge not meant for them. The women, in turn, gave birth to the sons of the Watchers, hybrid beings of angel and human, the Nephilim, as they are sometimes called. There is a debate about the nature of the Nephilim, but when we look at Genesis 6:1-4, we see that the Nephilim lived on the earth in those days and also afterward, when the sons of God, whom we can identify as the Watchers, joined with the daughters of men and had offspring with them. The Nephilim are also described as heroes of old and men of renown. However, in Enoch, the offspring of the women are known as giants, and these giants began to consume everything man had built. The giants, or Nephilim, then started a slaughter of men, and having grown tired of this, began to kill each other. In this scenario of widespread chaos, we learn in chapter 8 that an entity called Azazel, who is presumed to be one of the Watchers, teaches man the use of swords, knives, and the art of war, just as the Watchers had taught humanity the secrets of celestial incarnations and magic. It is also said that Azazel taught humanity the use of painted stones and dyes, so that man could manipulate the world and change it. In chapter 8, we learn that these acts of Azazel led to an increase in wickedness, the multiplication of fornication, and these transgressions corrupted all the ways of man. The remainder of the chapter tells us that the other Watchers taught humanity astrology, science, astronomy, and that with their presence men were destroyed and their cries reached the heavens. In chapter 9, the archangels Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel observe from heaven and realize what was happening on earth. In this chapter, they present themselves before God and seem to place most of the blame on Azazel, saying, "You have seen what Azazel has done. how he has taught every kind of iniquity on earth and revealed to the world all the heavenly secrets. They also blame Semyaza, saying he taught sorcery to mortals, and that he and his watchers joined with the women, creating wicked giants. They ask God what he wishes them to do to restore the earth. In chapter 10, God sends Uriel to look for the son of Lamech, who is Noah, and tells him to hide, explaining what is about to happen, that the entire earth will perish in a flood, and everything that came to be will be destroyed. He instructs Uriel to tell Noah how to escape the flood and how his seed will remain throughout the earth. God then tells the archangel Raphael to bind Azazel by the hands and feet and cast him into darkness, opening the desert that is in Dudael, a region of the underworld. He orders Raphael to throw upon him sharp stones and cover him in darkness, so that Azazel may remain. God finally commands the archangel Michael to confront the leader of the watchers, Semyaza, and announce to him and his allies who joined with the women that they are contaminated and that their offspring, both their own angelic sons and the sons born to the mortal women, will be exterminated before their eyes for 70 generations. After witnessing the destruction of their offspring, they will be led to the abyssal depths of hell, where fire awaits them, and they will be confined eternally. In chapter 12, we are informed that Enoch was summoned by the watchers, who called him Enoch, the scribe. It seems God instructs Enoch to deliver his message to the watchers, stating they will never find peace as a consequence of their actions. There is a mismatch here, as the archangel Michael would have already fulfilled this task, as per the divine request in the previous chapter. Perhaps Enoch is tasked with this mission to reinforce the divine message, showing the watchers that they are being reprimanded both by the archangels, who are above them, and by mortals who were below them. By tasking Enoch to announce their fate, it demonstrates to the watchers that they are no longer above humanity in God's eyes, as they are being informed of their destiny by a man, placing them on equal footing and possibly even below them. In chapters 12, verses 5 to 7, it is recorded, "Then the Lord said to me, Enoch, scribe of righteousness, go to the watchers of the heavens, who have abandoned the high heaven and their holy eternal dwelling, who have corrupted themselves with women." He continues by saying that they were expelled from heaven and will no longer rejoice in the company of the celestial angels. Enoch emphasizes that they were stripped of their heavenly glory and that they will suffer in silence and eternal darkness. He also mentions that they will witness the ruin of their children on earth, and this will be a punishment for them. Enoch concludes by stating that there will be no peace for them, nor mercy, and they must live with the burden of their sins forever. In chapter 13, it is notable that Enoch seems to primarily confront Azazel, despite Semyaza being the leader of the watchers. Perhaps while Semyaza merely aspired to unite with the women and reveal some heavenly mysteries, he did not share Azazel's wickedness, who instructed men in the art of war. Azazel, apparently, was not interested in the mortal women, but in teaching men about weapons and altering the order of the world, which was already perfectly planned according to divine will. In chapter 13, Enoch reports that he spoke to all the watchers collectively, and they were all terrified and trembled. He continues narrating that the watchers begged him to intercede with God on their behalf, carrying their regrets and requests for forgiveness for their acts, as they themselves could no longer ascend to heaven nor face the heavens due to shame. Then Enoch intercedes for them in prayer until he falls asleep, only to have a dream and a vision about the punishment, being instructed to rebuke the watchers, recounting what he witnessed. Upon awakening, he approaches them and recounts his dream, rebuking them for their actions. In chapter 14, Enoch clarifies that in speaking, he was echoing the word and voice of God. In this voice, he announces that the forgiveness they requested will not be granted, and that it never will be. He emphasizes that they were expelled from heaven and will no longer rejoice in the company of the celestial angels, and they will suffer in silence and eternal darkness. He also mentions that they will witness the ruin of their children on earth, and this will be a punishment for them. Enoch concludes by stating that there will be no peace for them, nor mercy, and they must live with the burden of their sins forever. Once reintegrated into heaven, the Watchers will remain bound to the earth as long as it exists, never finding serenity. However, the fate of these beings still seems uncertain. According to the scriptures, they were confined for 70 generations under the earth, awaiting the final judgment, when they will be cast into the burning depths to suffer eternally. Some believe that they still lie in the underworld, waiting for the time to be thrown into the infernal flames at the end of days. Indeed, a vision of the possible exile of the Watchers is revealed in chapter 21 of Enoch, where the prophet is led on a celestial journey and through other supernatural dimensions. In verse 21, 2, he reports not having witnessed neither the magnificence of a high heaven nor the solidity of a firm earth, but a desolate, shadowy, and terrifying place. In verse 21, 5, Enoch describes an immense fire, burning and bright, surrounded by flaming columns that intertwine down to the abyss, whose depth is unfathomable. In verse 21:6, the angel Uriel, Enoch's guide, questions his bewilderment at that horrific scenario, to which Enoch responds, "This is the dungeon of the angels, where they will be imprisoned forever." Although the Watchers are not explicitly mentioned, it is plausible to imagine that this is the confinement place of those who turned against God, a place of torment. In the second book of Enoch, the prophet's ascension through various celestial spheres is narrated. However, in the fifth heaven, Enoch encounters the Grigori, a caste of angels with human features and stature greater than the most imposing giants, yet with melancholic expressions. This celestial layer, less splendid than the others visited by Enoch, is described as devoid of purpose. It is understood that the Grigori mentioned in the second book of Enoch are the same Watchers from the first book of Enoch. Inquiring about the identity of the Grigori, the accompanying angels reveal that they, led by Prince Satanael, disobeyed God by descending to earth, joining with human women and generating chaotic offspring. What stands out here is that the leader of the fallen angels is not mentioned as Semjaza, but as Prince Satanael. This information is not elaborated upon, but there are theories suggesting that due to the similarity of names and the role played by Satanael, he might be a representation of Satan. Arguments in favor of this theory include a passage in chapter 29 of the second book of Enoch, where Satanael is mentioned again along with his angels being expelled from heaven. This scene bears resemblance to the description in Revelation 12:9 of the Bible, where Satan is cast out of heaven and consequently from a great height, as the text states. Satan, who deceives the whole world, was hurled to the earth and his angels with him. Furthermore, in the same chapter, there is a reference to Satanael attempting to raise his throne above the clouds of the earth, seeking to equate himself to the power of God. This echoes Isaiah 14:13, where there appears to be an allusion to Satan, who declares, "I will ascend to the heavens. I will raise my throne above the stars of God." Of course, this interpretation could be seen as a coincidence and not concrete proof of a connection between Satanael and Satan, where they resembled humans but were larger than the tallest giants, with grim and sad facial expressions. This level of heaven was also the least impressive of all that Enoch had seen so far, described by him as pointless. It is understood that the Grigori, mentioned in this passage from the second book of Enoch, are the same as the Watchers in the first book of Enoch. When Enoch questions the angels accompanying him about who the Grigori are, he is told that they, led by a prince named Satanael, descended to earth against God's will, joined with earthly women, and begot offspring that brought chaos. The intriguing aspect here is that the leader of the fallen angels is not identified as Semyaza, but as the prince Satanael. Although this connection is not deeply investigated, there is a belief that, due to the similarity of names and the role played by Satanael, he may be a representation of Satan. Arguments in favor of this idea include a passage in chapter 29 of the second book of Enoch, where Satanael and his angels are described as being expelled from a great height, reminiscent of Revelation 12:9 in the Bible, where Satan is cast out of heaven. Additionally, in that same chapter, it is reported that Satanael attempted to raise his throne above the clouds of the earth, seeking to equate himself with divine power, which mirrors Isaiah 14:13, where Isaiah seems to be referring to Satan, who declares, "I will ascend to the heavens. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God." Enoch intercedes for the Grigori, but soon realizes that they are condemned and that God's disdain for them is total. He observes that at a certain point, the Grigori begin to chant hymns, and their voices reach the Lord in a pitiable manner, revealing that they are now weakened and downtrodden, unable to sing with conviction to attract divine attention. The attempt to sing may suggest they feel remorse and sing out of desperation, hoping God will forgive them. On the other hand, the lack of conviction in their voices might indicate they are not truly repentant and are merely trying to appease God to gain freedom. The narrative of the Watchers is fascinating and provides a captivating account, even though it's an apocryphal text. With themes such as betrayal, morality, desire, and ambition, it offers an alternative perspective on the origin of sin in the world and adds a layer of understanding to the possible reason why God would have destroyed the world with the flood in order to eliminate the Nephilim and purify the land that had been corrupted by the Watchers. Moreover, the story introduces us to complex and intriguing characters, like Semyaza, the leader of the Watchers, who knew his duty but succumbed to peer pressure, and Azazel, the Watcher who seems to bear much of the blame for what happened, showing his wickedness by teaching men about weapons and war in an era that was supposed to be peaceful. In this text, we are also introduced to the understanding of the power of the archangels, like Gabriel, who is sent to destroy the Nephilim, and Raphael, who directly opposes Azazel and defeats him. In essence, the first chapters of Enoch tease us with the concept of angels fighting against angels and serve to show us the potency of evil, which can corrupt even those born of goodness. But I want to know your thoughts in the comments below about the Watchers, and if you know of more stories about them in other religious texts. Do you think these kinds of texts should be given more prominence and perhaps even be taught as doctrine for the lessons they bring? Also, share what themes you would like to see covered in future videos in this series on angels and demons. Don't forget to like this video, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, do subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive notifications. See you next time, folks.